Today we're going to be working on our handstand practice and several different entrances in and out of handstand as well. I really think it's a good idea, if you haven't already stretched your wrist and the inside of your groin, that you pause and do that before watching this video. It's really going to be helpful to you as you progress through these handstands. If you're already loose and you're ready to go, let's do it. Today, the first one we're gonna do is our tuck handstand. And with the tuck handstand, really the thing we want to focus on is keeping everything, our entire body, tight and kind of in line with our center line. And this is hard for me. I have these long legs and my knees have a tendency to want to kind of flail around a little bit, and it's just something that I'm still working on, but that's not what you want to do. So if you see me doing it, don't try to copy it. You really want to keep your knees tight, your hands tight, everything's going to be in tight, and you want to keep your core really engaged. Most of the action that's happening in handstand and these different handstand versions we're going to do is in the shoulder girdle. So there's going to be a lot of that. Not as much in this one, but there's going to be a lot of action there too as well. So anyway, let's do 10 tuck handstands, and then we'll switch over and we'll do 10 on the blocks, and we'll see how that feels. Try to make it one movement, and it's just straight up into handstand and then straight back down to the ground, and try to be as controlled as you can. It's not, you don't need to be really fast, but it makes it more difficult if you stop. So try to be steady and move through it. So let's get into it. 10. And then when you're done, let's take a little hold at the end and just work on our posture and seeing how long we can actually hold handstand for. I don't know how long I was. Not very good. So let's grab our blocks, and if you don't have blocks, that's fine. We can just keep working on the ground. I really like the blocks because they take your fingers out of play, and they they really force you to use better technique and proper technique, because in handstand we're using our fingers, and that's kind of controlling our balance, kind of like we use our toes. And so when you take that and you get rid of that, all of a sudden your alignment has to be a lot better. It's a lot more difficult too to get up and down on the blocks. This piece of plywood is just for this, the ground here is so rocky that, my blocks, they won't work too well. So I'm using this to practice on my handstand. Same thing, kind of jump into it. I mean, if you can press into it, good for you, but it's a little harder once you get these blocks involved. You know, it's more about working on that technique, you know, because you have to fire a whole series of muscles, you know, in order to do this, and it takes your body time and your muscles time to kind of gain that muscle memory. So, you know, repetition is a really important part of the handstand practice. You know, I'd say my success in yoga and in handstand both is just, you know, I keep after it and keep working on it. And I try to find time in my day, in my life, to incorporate it. And, you know, that's how I've found success, is just with being very consistent about my practice. So let's do another 10 wherever you're at. And just on that note too, before we get into it, I also make blocks, like, you know, find stumps and stuff and cut them up and make them. So if you need some, you can just contact my Facebook page and I'll get you some blocks. I'll mail them off to you. All right, so let's do 10 more. I don't know if that was 10 or not. One thing you'll learn about me is I really suck at counting. Can't count at all. So feel free to pause the video and work on that. You know, one of the things I see that's common that people do, and I do it too, is you have this tendency to want to kind of get your hands really wide because you're more stable. But as far as alignment goes and staying in good form, and it's better to have your hands no wider than shoulders distance. And if you can go a little more narrow, your arms should be fairly tight against your ears. So when you're up here, you know, there shouldn't be a lot of room right there. You should be pretty tight. And, you know, that's going to require you to, most people are probably going to have to come in just a little bit in order to get there. So the next handstand we're going to work on is the straddle. And some of us are going to jump into the straddle and some of us are going to press into the straddle. And I want everybody to eventually press into the straddle, but it takes time. It's not easy. But the key is, and I'm going to kind of turn sideways so you can see, is this is what I see from most people. Most people in a yoga class are going to be trying to straddle press way out here, you know. And if you look at where my hands are, there's no way for me to press into handstand here because my weight isn't over my hands. You know, my weight's way back over here, you know. So what's really better is something more like this. And the further I lean forward, my toes just start coming off of the ground, right? And when you start getting your weight forward, you know, that's when you're going to start being able to press The second thing is the shoulders. And there's a lot of action happening in the shoulder girdle here. When I'm here and I'm looking to press, I really want my shoulders coming together across my back body, my shoulder blades. That is the action that's going to kind of allow me to scoop my shoulders underneath me and allow me to lift or press into the handstand. With your legs, you want to keep your legs really engaged. Point your toes, but your legs should be completely engaged the whole time. I like to start with my feet together. I think you get a wider range of motion. So anyway, I'll turn here. So let's do 10. And once again, take your time. There's no rush. Slow and controlled is good. So the more slow and the more controlled you can do it, the better. All right, so 10 straddle press. Notice how far forward I'm coming when I actually lift off of the ground. I have my shoulders over past my hands. It's very important to get your weight forward so you can lift up. Is that 10? I don't know. Feels like 10. All right. So what do people do wrong in that? People do a lot of things wrong in that. I do a lot of things wrong in that. One of the things people do wrong a lot is, you see this kind of back bending, and I do it too. I think everybody, when they're first learning handstand, does it. You have this tendency to want to bend your back, but really what we're looking for is the hollow body position. And so we're not looking for a back bend like this, right? But actually, we want to keep our chest forward. The way we do bring our chest forward is we take our Uddiyana Bandha and we bring it up and in like this, okay? So we inhale it up and in, and now that brings our belly in, brings my chest out, and now you need some flexibility in your shoulders to get them back. And that's your hollow body. That's called a hollow body position, okay? That's what you're looking for. That's how you get a straight line in handstand, is, flexibility in the shoulders and engagement in your Uddiyana Bandha. And if you don't know what Uddiyana Bandha is, basically on your inhale, I'm not going to explain Uddiyana Bandha right now, but, on your inhale, this action of bringing it up into the chest is, there's a force there. It's a power. And in yoga, we call them bandhas. We have a few areas of our body where muscles kind of converge, and we, are able to use this to our advantage in movement. But bandha actually translates to lock. It's not an actual organ or anything like that. It's just sort of a place of energy where we can, I guess, lock the energy in, or I don't know. Never quite figured out why it was translated as lock. But whatever, I'm not I'm just sharing what I do know, and then when I figure out the rest, I'll let you know. Or maybe you'll figure it out before me, I don't know. So let's do 10 more. Let's jump into the blocks now, and let's work on the press. You know, after I just talked about not having any back bend in your handstand, I'm gonna kind of take that back just a little bit, just on this one version. Like me personally, I have an okay splits. It's okay, but I don't have like a really deep splits. And because of that, right? Because I can't get into a perfect splits, you know, sometimes my feet have a tendency to point forward just a little bit. And in order for me to counter that, I gotta put just a little bit of tilt down here in the pelvic region. I don't know if that's probably not the proper way to do it. It's probably not proper technique, but because my splits aren't as deep as they need to be, you know, I do that as sort of a way to compensate there. You know, so if you're a little tighter in the groin and you find yourself, you know, having a slight tilt in the back, down by the sacrum, I wouldn't beat yourself up about that. Not saying it's the right way to do it, but I mean, I do it because, you know, I kind of need to until I gain some more flexibility. Anyway, I'm gonna get into this 10 straddle handstands. A little harder on the blocks, huh? It is. You know, more often than not, when I'm not getting it right, I'm not far enough forward. You know, I mean, and I'm not really afraid of going too far forward like a lot of people are, and I still don't get, you know, far enough forward. So, you know, you just got to keep doing it. You're probably, and if you see me jumping while I'm using the blocks, you're probably gonna have to jump while you're doing the blocks. I don't know very many people that can press handstand on the blocks. It's a lot harder, you know, your hands are higher up, so, you know, it's that much further and that much more weight you gotta lift. Not to say you can't, it's just basically what I'm saying is that if you find yourself using the blocks and you're having to jump into these handstands, that's perfectly fine. I mean, I do it all the time. I'm gonna take just a few more because, you know, I need to practice. All right, so the next one we're gonna work on is the pike, or your traditional press handstand. And I think this was the hardest one for me to learn. Mainly, I think for me it was so hard to learn because when I had pretty strong shoulders just from construction and everything, and athletics, so it was hard for me to get flexibility in my shoulders. It's taken a lot of time in order to loosen it up enough where I could do a press handstand, because I think I had the strength. I don't think it was lacking there. So just like the last one, that action's the same. As we are going up, we really want to squeeze our shoulder blades together as much as we can across our back body. And the more we can do that, the more we can, get underneath our body and our weight and really press into handstand without it. It's more about technique. You see people do it. I remember the first time I saw somebody do it, you're blown away. You're like, wow, he must be so strong. And it takes strength. I'm not saying it doesn't take strength, but it takes technique. I've had the strength to do it for a long time, but I still wasn't able to do it because I didn't have the technique. So same thing as what we're doing in the wide-legged. You gotta get forward, you gotta get, the more forward you get, you can actually counterbalance bringing your feet off the ground. It's a lot harder to hold your feet off the ground when you're way over here. How do you do it? How do you do it? Right? You can't. You can't. So when you want to talk about pressing up into handstand, it's the same when you get into arm balances, and we'll do an arm balance video too. You have to, if gravity works, like I swear it does. So if I put my hand down, right, I have to stack my weight evenly, both sides in all directions, if I want to balance on one hand, right? If I have my weight way over here, obviously it's not going to work. Same when you're pressing into handstand. You got to align the weight in order to float and to press and to do things like that. So let's do 10. You guys are probably going to have to jump into it at home, so that'll probably, and when I don't get it, it's usually because I'm not coming far enough forward. So I tell myself, oh, okay, I didn't get it. I'm gonna come a little further forward this time. Okay. And if you're not there, just try jumping up with straight legs. You really have to engage the entire back line of your leg. You actually want to keep that engagement through your back, all the way up to your shoulders, all the way through your arms. You have these fascial meridians, and so you may see all these different individual muscles, but inside of your network of muscle tissue, you have a chain of muscles there, and when you engage them all the way through, when you see me pull my feet up, I'm pulling from my arms, from my shoulders, from my obliques. I'm pulling that entire engaged line. It's all working together as one engaged line of muscle. And we'll get more into how that works with the fascia and the meridians, because I do some fascial meridian classes. But that's not what this is. So if you want to do 10 of those, I'm going to try to do 10 of the press. I don't know how tired I'll get, so maybe I'll jump in. But if you want to do the press, it's the same thing that we've been doing, we've been talking about, you know, and it's all about just getting your weight forward enough. So, you know, obviously I need to work on it a little bit, but you know, that's the action of pressing, is really bringing the weight forward. Okay, and keeping that engagement along your back body. Contracting the shoulders across the back body, right? Scooping underneath it, underneath your weight, right? Do the best you can. If you're not getting it right away, it takes a lot of practice. It really does. You know, what we're doing here, I do this every day, you know, 50, 100 handstands, so, you know, it's fun. Just remember to, you know, to stay with your body and not try to do things that you're not ready for, because that's how you get hurt. You know, this is about yoga. It's about progressing our movement. This is healthy, you know, we get a good workout doing it. You know, handstand's probably one of the healthiest poses in all of yoga. You know, you're working all kinds of muscles getting in and out of handstand. So it's really good for you. And remember, that's why we're doing it. All right, 10 press without the blocks. I would normally finish my 10, but I know I got 10 more on this. Kicking my butt. All right, feel free to stop this video all throughout it, pause. You know, it's gonna be impossible to teach you everything about handstand in a short video, but you know, I'm putting in a lot of good information here. You know, I didn't get any free videos with solid information. You know, it took me, I had to find good teachers, and it's cost me a lot of money to train with them, and it's fun, don't get me wrong, I had a good time. But you know, I feel like I'm giving out some good information here. So, you know, take it and use it and help develop your practice with it. You know, it's really what the information's for. It's for people to use it, right? Not for people to hold on to it and think about, you know, how can I make money off of this? You know? How can I use this information to my benefit? You know, I'm not like that. I'm just, I want to see more and more people get inspired about yoga and handstands and all this kind of stuff. So if I can help inspire somebody, you know, it's awesome. It's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna do some more pike. Now with the blocks, it's really hard to press, so I'm gonna have to jump. And you know, if you find yourself jumping, if you can do 10 press without jumping, pike legs, you know, that's awesome. That's awesome. I don't know very many people that can do that. So, you know, you should maybe contact me and I come work out with you. that's where you're at. And I enjoy, like, I love going to yoga classes and handstand workshops, so I'm into it. Let me know. Let's do 10. 10 pike. It's tough. It's tough. I'm not gonna get too stuck here because I don't think a lot of you guys are gonna be, it's a more difficult one. And I have one more that I wanna do in this video. And this is the cartwheel entrance into handstand. I really like this, but it's also difficult, you know? And so I just want you to be careful and be safe at home. Cartwheel entrance into handstand, you know, you should probably be working on your handstand practice already before you start doing something like this. Otherwise, you know, you're probably gonna fall and hurt yourself. I don't know. Maybe you won't. Maybe you're just naturally athletic and you can do that, and you know, whatever. I like to come into this from like a half moon position. It might be easier to get into it from other positions, but it's not so much easy that I'm trying to accomplish here is actually teaching my body, you know, the proper range of motion. And so I like half moon because it's a flat, and so I'm gonna stay flat. You know, I start in a position that's flat. I try to stay as flat as possible as I'm cartwheeling into handstand. Okay, the back leg here, this is what propels me up. You know, this is my, you know, little momentum propels me, and then the engagement of the side body as well. And that's gonna pull me up. This leg here, you wanna keep it really engaged because as you pull up, this becomes like your counterbalance. And so the one leg and the momentum, and well, if you can do it without momentum, that's even better. It takes a lot of flexibility in the groin. But that pulls you up. Second leg is counterbalance. So let's see how that looks. Try that one more time. Same thing when we're lowering down. I want to go back and forth a few times. Try to lower as slow and as controlled as possible. I know that's hard. I know this is a difficult. Maybe you're just watching this. Maybe you're nowhere near this. You know, work some cartwheels. Cartwheels are really good because they teach you how to fall out of handstand. So as you're building all these different handstands we're working on, when you start to fall, what are you gonna do? You're gonna cartwheel out of it, right? That's something that you need to learn. Maybe this is a really good time for you to learn how to cartwheel or how to fall out of handstand, okay? If you feel comfortable, let's work on going side to side, cartwheel entrance. Try to catch air, try to land in handstand, hold it, then come down to the other side, slow and controlled, okay? that one. I want to end on a good one. Well, I feel like normally I do a little better than that, but it wasn't horrible. It's a tough one, you know, and there's some other tough stuff in handstand too. If you got through everything here and you say no problem, yeah, you know, good for you. I think I'll call that a day though for this class, and you know, had fun. I might sit here and do handstands until the sun goes down. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but you know, I feel like it was a good video. I feel like I put a lot of good information in there, and hopefully for people who are looking to develop a handstand practice, you got, you know, an idea of some technique and some different things that we do in our handstands. And I was happy to share that with you, you know, for all you guys out there in quarantine and, you know, trying to figure out what do I do, I'm locked in this house forever, you know, hopefully doing some handstands, you know, just go handstand crazy while you're locked in your house, you know, just day and night, non-stop handstands. You know, you'll come out of quarantine ripped, you know, you'll love it. It's fun too, you know, freak people out a little bit, you know, but they'll get used to it, it's fine. All right, namaste. Thank you. It's my honor to be your teacher today.